What's up, guys? So Konami have released a new pack with Foden, Saka and Van Dijk, and not only are those three players pretty good, there's actually a selection of other players too. So this video is going to be a bit longer as I give you the builds for Foden, Saka and Van Dijk, and I'm going to have a look at a few of these other highlight cards too. So starting off with Virgil van Dijk, I think this guy looks amazing, and I've recommended previous versions of this guy, and he has great player ID. So this is the build I would recommend for Van Dijk. You can see without the boosts, we're getting the 85 speed, 85 jump, and then 87 on the defensive stats, which doesn't really matter actually because you get the boost, but yeah, you're getting loads of defensive stats. It's quite fast. Now, if you want, you can take off a little bit of defending because engagement will still be at 85, and you get the boost with that. And defensive engagement doesn't matter too much for the centre backs because they should be in position anyway. And then with those extra points, you can choose, do you want to go into dexterity to make them kind of more there's a big difference between the speed and acceleration, so you kind of want them closer to make the speed feel more effective, and you can last into passing. Or even if you don't want to do the dexterity, you can just go more into passing and get it to 70, which would be 1 dexterity. I don't know if that's worth it, just because it's a lot of points, whereas you can get quite a bit faster by going like something like that. But with the skills I recommend, it might be smart to go into the passing. Overall, I wouldn't recommend it though. The skills I recommend are, you can see he's got a lot of them. He's got a lot of the defensive ones off the start. So with the skills we're going for, I'm going to recommend one touch pass, weighted pass, low lofted pass, true passing. And then for that last skill, you can go for gamesmanship, because you're probably going to be using them as a ball playing defender and you want to hold on to the ball with them, or pinpoint crossing for the early crosses, low driven crosses into the strikers. If you don't know, that's like, it might sound a bit crazy putting pinpoint on, but trust me, I hit it pretty often with the centre back, the low driven cross up to the striker. Those are the skills I'd recommend for Van Dijk, and the build I recommend too. Now, if we go on to the next player, we'll go on to Saka. Saka is someone I really don't like in this game. I've had a few versions, I've never liked them. It's kind of like Griezmann in that way, although with the big time Griezmann card, I do actually like big time Griezmann compared to the other ones, because similar to Saka, and like the Griezmann's the same, where he's very well rounded cards. He's got high stats pretty much everywhere, but not very high stats in anywhere. So he's never enough. Now this one, I don't know if it's going to be enough. If we have a look at the build we're starting it, you can see he's quite fast and good at dribbling. So I do think this guy will be a good dribbler. I mean, you'd hope so with those stats, wouldn't you? And particularly the 95 balance is really going to help out. So yeah, this is the first build I'd go with. Is there any changes you can make? Well, first off, you can see I've gotten the kicking power to 85 just to get a boost on that, because he does have quite low finishing. So the kicking power is, we're trying to get a high to help with that. His passing is quite low as well though, so you could take off some passing and get it into finishing just to make it a little bit better. Alternatively, if you're going to be using them left mid, right mid, or left back, you could take off the shooting and passing and put it into defending, but you're going to want to be able to get it to 70 aggression. You're going to have to take a point off either lower body strength, which would look like this, dexterity, which would look like this, or dribbling, which would look like so. To be honest, if I had to pick one there to get to defending stats, or want the engagement and aggression to 70, I would take off the dribbling. I think that's the best play there. The best positions for him, I think it's going to be left mid and right mid, in particularly a 3-5-2, just because he's really good at dribbling, quite fast. We got the 70 on the defensive stats there, but his finishing isn't great, so I don't think he's going to be consistent enough to play left wing or right wing. So that's what I would do for Saka. Now, if we take a look at his skills, he's got something very interesting to start off. He has got double touch, flip flap, and soul control, so we can do the level 3 double touch. Now with Saka, there's nothing. How would I say this? There's a lot of skills you can go on, so it's gonna have to be kind of personal choice. The first skill I do think every build should have though is acrobatic finishing, just because he's such a good dribbler. He should be using his pace and his dribbling ability to beat defenders, so you want to have acrobatic finishing to help with your shots. The next skill I recommended is pinpoint crossing, just because he has to play it wide, so I think it would just be smart to have it on. It can help you if you play him on the right even. Obviously on the left, you're going to be hitting crosses often, but if you play him on the right, you'll be cutting inside to shoot, but it'll help if you can go outside and cross to kind of confuse your opponent. The next skill I'd recommend, particularly if you go for a build with the 70 engagement and aggression, is trackback, just to help with the AI and make them more involved. Another skill you can go for is outside curler. I don't know, like, I'm not 100% sold on this one though, just because if you're playing him on the right wing, it shouldn't really come into play too much, and it would only happen on the left wing. And I do think you should use this guy if you're someone who uses a 3-5-2 and you want another option in your bench, not just for substituting, like you can start him, but you just want more options. So let's say you have someone like Roberto Carlos on the left and he'll be on the right, let's say Philip Lam or Salah or something that you always play, then you can have Saka in your lineup there to kind of rotate with him. So if you don't want to go outside curler and you want something more consistent, I'd go first time shot. Now the reason I'm 100% sold on first time shot is just because you would be playing on left mid and right mid. But if you're playing on left wing and right wing, you know that kind of final ball over out wide, the first time shot will get activated often. You can also go cut behind and turn, or Marseille turn. I wouldn't go for both. I'd just go for one of them, whichever one you think you prefer more. And then the last skill I would go for is Fighting Spirit. So Fighting Spirit's going to help when your stamina is low. Now this guy has quite good stamina, so you're probably wondering why put Fighting Spirit on him. But if a player has high stamina, you won't be subbing them out, and with the way stamina works in this game, it doesn't matter how high your stamina is, even if it's 99, it's going to be low by the end of the game. So having Fighting Spirit on Saka makes sense, because you can kind of, if you have it on him, use him as someone who you think won't be getting subbed off. And because he's versatile, you can kind of not sub him off, you can sub someone else off and even move his position to the other wing. Now the next player is very interesting. It's Phil Foden, and Phil Foden's kind of like Griezmann or a Saka in what I mentioned before, where he's quite good but just not good enough in certain areas. But I do think this card looks very nice. So this is the first build I'm going for. Now there's going to be a lot of builds with this Foden guy, just because he's got 35 levels. You can go a lot of different directions with him. You can see with this one here, we're getting the kick and power high, the balance high. I mean, actually, never mind, let me rephrase this. All the builds are going to have high stats here. It's just how high you want certain stats. So this one you can get really high finishing. Unfortunately, you do have an extra point that I'm putting into actually I had it in aerial strength. I think I'll put it in defending, just get that aggression a little bit higher. Now for another build, you can do this now if you want the kick and power higher. I do think I have Blitz Curler Salah. I do think that kick and power is kind of important to the Blitz Curler, and I think 95 kick and power on this guy will be very good. And even if you don't want to use a Blitz Curler, I think it make him effective. Now there is another build we want to look at, and this is a high balance build, and we're going to get it to have 90 offensive awareness too, just because he's a whole player. So we'll try to get those run activated more often. Gianni sent me his build. Now he's using something a little bit different than me. I think it's just a bit more well-rounded, a bit more into passing. So if you wanted another reference point there you go. Now this Foden is very good. You can see in the top right there, show you in the game, he can play every single position except for DMF and across the back line. So this guy's very versatile, very useful. So I think when you're making this card, in terms of the skills, there's a few skills I'm looking at, and the first you have to put on Foden is acrobatic finishing. It makes Blitz Curlers so much more effective, so definitely put acrobatic finishing on them. After that, you can probably go scissors feint, fighting spirit, gamesmanship, cut behind and turn, particularly just because he's a bit one-footed, so you kind of want to use get him onto that left foot more often. Cut behind and turn can be effective for that. And then also on that similar vein, outside curler. Outside curler will be good just because Blitz Curler won't activate on his weak foot. It only activates on very high weak foot. You're using on the weak foot, so yeah, definitely go for that. Now you could, I don't think this guy is someone that should be on your bench, but you could use super sub just because of how many positions he can play. It'd be good super sub off the bench. I do think he's good enough to start in a lot of teams, but if you're someone with a really god squad, super sub might be effective just because of the versatility in his positions. You can see I haven't recommended soul control, and for most players I would, but because he's a Blitz Curler, I still haven't scored a knock-on finesse Blitz Curler, so I don't think I'd recommend it. Now you could put it on for the Franquinho double touch, which I've done a video on, but because I don't think Blitz Curler needs that extra kind of boost for the double touch shot, so I wouldn't also put it on for that reason. That's the builds and the skills. Quickly go back to Van Dijk. I know I didn't actually talk about it. Is Fortress good? I am not 100% sure. I have a video on it where I talked about it with Gianni, who has Showtime cards with Fortress. So if you want to know the effectiveness of each skill move. We have a tier list, so check that out. Now we're going to run through these players quickly. There's actually a few players in the pack that are decent, that are highlight cards. Someone was asking or talking about Pedro Porro in my stream, so here is one of the builds I'd recommend for Pedro Porro. You can see just kind of well rounded. If we go on to the next player, it's Douglas Luiz. Same thing, I have a video on this Douglas, not this Douglas Luiz, sorry, a previous Douglas Luiz. He's amazing in this game. You can also even go less on the passing. We'll go to 83 just to get a little bit extra, the 85 sorry, boost, and then you can probably just put the rest of the points into shooting to get to 70. You know, you don't have to go to 70, you can go like that. And then with the extra points, you can go get the 70 physical. Yeah, that's what I do for Douglas Luiz. This guy is really good. I haven't used him, obviously, this version, but I've used previous versions. Bruno Fernandes, this is the build I went for. I don't really think Bruno Fernandes is anything special in this game. You can go less in dribbling and more into shooting. Let's see if we can get the shooting to 85, finishing to 85. Actually, no, I don't think we can. We'd have to take off a kick and power. Yeah, there, we can do it there. So yeah, not the greatest. He has got good aggression though, which I always like on my forward players. Forward Prowse, build I would go for. I wish he was an orchestrator instead of a box-to-box. Although he does have great stamina, never mind, just not enough speed. And then Olise, I actually don't think Olise looks particularly amazing. I feel like he doesn't look as good as he is in real life. So the highlight cards look decent too. The pack looks decent. Would I spin for it? I'm probably not spinning. I want to hold on to my money, but I do think it is a good pack. And as I talked about at the start of the video, I think Van Dijk is a really good centre back in this game. So even with Fortress Boost, and like, actually let me show you my Van Dijk. I don't actually have a very high rated Van Dijk, and I still quite like him. But this is the Van Dijk I have. Pretty much similar defensive stats, but you can see the speed is a lot lower. So I still like this guy. I've got 60 games with him. He's pretty good. So that's the video. Let me know if you guys are spinning, and I'll see if I can get my hands on these, maybe on someone else's accounts to review them. Bye.